Hello and welcome. My name is Errity Green and this is Wise Women Oracle and Tarot. And today I am bringing you a pick a card reading on who are you in relationships? What kind of person are you in a relationship? How do you show up? What are you like? So I encourage you to stick around. If you find you like this reading, do like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new reading pops up. If you want to get to know more about me, my work, personal readings, visit erritygreen.com/shop. You'll also find a link below. I would absolutely love for you to join my newsletter. That way I can send you a love letter between readings. You'll find that link right off the bat at the very top below. Last but not least, do check out and join the communities of my other YouTube channels, Psychic True Crime and Wise Women Talk. Without further delay, I will place a picture up now of your 3 card piles to choose from. You are always choosing from left to right. Okay, so card pile 1, who are you in a relationship? How do you show up in a relationship? So I do feel like you are a mature partner, lover, person, because we have a lot of those cards popping up in this pile. Like you're someone can look to, be inspired by, trust in, know is doing the right thing or on the right path. Like you have integrity, you have character, you have wisdom, you have maturity. I would say you're either relatively aged, if that's a word or a term or a meaning, or you have a lot of wisdom under your belt. It just seems like you carry yourself really well. You might even have some elder energy. It doesn't mean that you are elderly or 16 up, although you could be. It just means that you have that energy, the crone energy, the elder energy, but you can be trusted. People know that you're going to do the right thing, say the right thing, that you're going to be the one to speak up, that you're not going to let harm and injustice or something like that come to anyone. You're going to be the person who does the right thing. You have a lot of integrity, character, honesty, transparency. You're willing to put your heart out there to say what must be said. You're not going to be someone who's going to sort of hang out on the wall or hide away in a corner. You'll be the one to voice something, to speak up, to stand for injustice, to do the right thing when something must be done, even when no one else in the room is going to do it. People know that you will do it, and they like that they can trust you. They like that you're independent or independent enough to, it feels like sufficient, like self-sufficient. They know you're not going to not survive without them. Like it's not really related to codependency, although I'm sure that you are not, or you've worked through that, or you're aware enough to not respond to any inclination to be like that in a relationship. I feel like a part of you might still be like that, but it comes out in fun ways. Like, it's like almost like codependency tends to come with like passion and excitement and that clinginess at the beginning stages of a relationship and enjoying lovemaking and things like that. So it might show up in ways like that, in healthy ways, but I'm not finding that there's tons of codependency in this relationship. Like that's not even coming up. It's not even on the radar. But the energy that was coming through, it was like they can trust that like they go for a week or 2 week or week long or whatever trip, you're going to be okay. Okay. Not only do they know that you're going to be okay, they know that you're not going to go off, especially if it's a monogamous relationship or committed relationship, you're not going to be off doing this or doing that. Like they feel like you would be the one who's just going to sit at home, do your thing, maybe have a treat and watch some Netflix and chill. Like you would be taking that time to tend to and care for yourself long before you'd be out on the prowl and trying to find somebody else. So it's like they know that they can trust you. They know that you have your own life. They know that you value your own freedom. They know that you're going to be the one to say something if something is going wrong or bad or something that's unjust. They really appreciate your level and quality of integrity, character, wisdom, maturity, trust, self-sufficiency. They know that you've got this. They know that whether they were in the picture or not, you would be all good and all set. They know that you could survive without them. Of course, they wouldn't want you to when you're in relationship, but they know that you'd be all right. And there is something that is alluring about someone who is all right no matter what. They can trust you to be on your own and trust that you've got this no matter what. So it's pretty darn cool. Now, I also feel this energy, though, again, that they do feel like you can kind of be giddy or childlike or playful. This is going to be for everyone because this feels like a smaller energy. Doesn't mean that because like this other energy of integrity, character, quality, person, all that stuff, that's pretty strong and solid. Now I do have a little bit of a flavor of wearing your heart on your sleeve. Some of you might even be thrill seekers. But again, I think it's coming up in small ways, but they like how it does show up. They like when it does show up. They like that you're well balanced in that way. You're kind of willing. That's what it kind of feels like, this willingness to try something that new, the willingness to go there, the willingness to have a conversation, the willingness to, because it almost feels like, well, some of you, this could be childlike and playful and all the ways, like even I talked about earlier about like wearing your heart on your sleeve and like how codependence can even show up in healthy ways. Like when you start using that inclination for good or from a greater connection, it's like the energy that this feels like is a willingness to do what must be done to support a relationship. So it's like, okay, do we need to go to therapy? Sure. Okay, we need to have this conversation? Absolutely. Okay, so we need to go to the doctor and check this thing out? Absolutely. Okay, so we need to meet your parents and we have to bring whatever. Okay, it's like a willingness to show up, do the thing, to do what must be done. But it's like this flexibility, but it feels more like willingness. It's like willingness to do whatever, but it's not just to preserve and salvage the relationship. I don't mean it like that. Like it's always something that, like, let's go to therapy or go to the doctor, but it's like this willingness to go there, to do what must be done. So if it's having the hard conversations, if it's doing something out of the box, because it feels like it could also have that experimental or playful energy too, where it's like, oh, you want to try that? Okay, that's a little different, but I'll try it, stuff like that, where it's like they're not too like dogmatic and or like everything has to be one way. Like it's despite this integrity and character and all that stuff, it doesn't imply that they're rigid, right? Because there is a willingness and there is a flexibility, and they appreciate that about you when you're in relationship. How else do you show up in relationship? Someone who's very inspiring. They're inspired by your successes, how you carry yourself, your wisdom, what you know, what you've done, what you've achieved. They're pretty amazed by that. I know I keep speaking to they, so this could be how you're showing up in this relationship, how you're showing up with your crush right now in this dynamic. But this is also intended to be how you show up in relationships generally. So the people that you're with or the people that like you or that crush on you, this is what they see. They think you're inspiring. They think you've accomplished so much in your life. They might be like, wow, for their age, I mean, they've accomplished a pretty darn good a lot, or they've done pretty well with themselves, or they've done well with what they've been given, right? They've played their hands right. Like, I'm pretty impressed by that. They think you're inspiring. They think you have an inspiring story. They think you have an inspiring story to tell. They are inspired by you. I think some of you, it's just your energy. It's who you are. It's your aura. It's what you give off. They're like, dang, all right, like, that's cool. What's up? It's like a good vibe, a good energy. They're just impressed by you, moved by you. It's a really feel good energy that's like, okay, like I can get down with that. And again, I'm sharing that because sometimes we think when I'm sharing on these, like, oh, you've accomplished so much. Someone might watch this and be like, well, this reading isn't for me because I really haven't accomplished that much, right? Especially if you're a younger age and you're watching this. Although I'm sure you have, even if you're not giving yourself credit. But it's that energy of sometimes we just feel like that to people. And they're like, dang, like they've really played their hands right. And they know what's up. Like they're really taking good care of themselves. It could be like, that you're healthy and fit in a certain way, and or you've accomplished a lot in your studies and your coursework. I mean, it could be any number of things. We're like, just dang, like they've really done it. They've done it well. They've done it right. They're impressed by that. They're impressed by your emotional maturity, your awareness, your wisdom. They're also impressed with how far you've come, perhaps in terms of where you came from and your childhood or your family of origin, your biological family, where they're like, okay, like this person has come far. Good. They're impressed by that as well. And they're pretty impressed by, how you've walked out of that. And what's that? There's a term. This isn't the term, but how you've escaped something sort of unscathed or like little scathed. And it doesn't mean that you're unscathed. It just means like, again, you've played your hands right. You've dealt them well. Like you've done what you needed to do to use it for good, if that makes sense, to use it to develop yourself, to use it to grow, to use it to ask questions, to use it to, stand for something, to value something. It's like nothing went wasted. Nothing was in vain in your life. Like even if something went wrong or bad or was problematic or dysfunctional or unhealthy or whatever, it's like you have used that for good in some way. Like everything became alchemy. Everything became a tool. How can I use this tool? Because everything is a tool, right? So it's like they've realized or see you as how you show up in a relationship as someone who will use anything as a tool. Okay, this happened. All right, I'm going to use this. I'm going to look at this. I'm going to use this for something, even if it's just growth. You're going to use it. It's not going to go to waste. It's not going to be in vain. They are pretty impressed by and notice like how you show up in relationships. So again, whether this includes someone else and the way that they've looked at you, I mean, it sort of does, because how do we get to know ourselves in relationship from the perspective of another? But it doesn't necessarily have to include that. This could just be how you show up in a relationship. But I keep saying they, because that's the energy that's here. So it's almost like how people view you in relationships, how you're seen and experienced in relationships. Because that's really what's answering the question here. They think that you are like, you live a very purposeful life, a very meaningful life. Like you follow your heart, you follow your ambition, you follow your drive. You know what you're here for. You're doing it. You're not taking no for an answer. They love that. They love that. They appreciate that. They like that you're on path, you know, that you are on purpose, that you live purposefully, that you live meaningfully. You show up in relationships as someone who, again, is following their heart, their ambition, their aspirations, and likely someone who isn't going to like default to something that's easy or small or not quite the high caliber, or again, we're talking about quality, character, honesty, transparency, right? So if something's not meeting the bar, it's just, you know, it's not going to work. So I'm just getting comfortable. They also see how do you show up in relationships is very patient. Again, I get the energy of willingness, again, willing to wait something out, willing to try again, willing to give it another go, willing to have a conversation, willing to go there, willing to look at your own stuff, willing to take responsibility, willing to try something new, willing to make a change, like doing your part, playing your role, being a healthy, wholehearted contributor. Like you do give your all. You give your all, card pile 1. That's a really beautiful thing. I mean, I think it's almost awe-inspiring for the people that you're with. You really, truly do give your all. You're not someone who's going to, again, settle for less or give 10%. It's like you give your all in all areas and domains of your life. And they are people who get with you are flabbergasted by that. They are truly enamored by that, enchanted by you. They think it's incredible. And also you're this enduring, but also like easygoing patience, like not expecting something right away, for something to be resolved right away, or for something to be easy. It's like you're not expecting everything to be a piece of cake or a walk in the park or a stroll in the afternoon, a midday stroll. It's like, you know that you have to roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, your feet wet, that a lot of things is going to be like, what's the thing about the grindstone? Like really having to do something, to use some elbow grease to quote unquote sort of make something happen. But you're like willing to do what must be done. Again, if it involves you rolling up your sleeves, you'll be one to do it. And you're not going to be like expecting like an overnight payday or overnight success. Like, you know that you have to work at things. You know that you have to build things. You know that you have to put in the work, the time, the energy, the investment. That's what produces. That's how we get the fruits of our labor. We have to like till the soil and make sure the soil is well. And then we plant a seed, and then we provide the necessary particular elements at just the right time and just the right balance. And then over time, ta-da. It's like, you know, this stuff. It's not going to be just bada bing, walk away, and there's this thing. So they love that about you. They love that you're not only do you know that things require a hard day's work and or a certain investment, but that you're patient, that you don't need something to happen. Like you're not someone who's like all about short-term or like immediate gratification. You're willing to let things play out. You're willing to let things go, like to roll out. You're willing to see what people have to say. Again, it doesn't have to be quick, instantaneous, overnight, right here, right now, hedonistic, you know, that kind of energy that's kind of childlike of like, I need it and I need it now and I want it to be this way. And if it's not, you know, you're so, again, willing, flexible, available, patient, allowing, trusting, knowing. You're very wise, very trusting, very connected to source. I don't think you know that. I think you get your mind some, and that can sort of take you away from some of that sometimes. But because you practice such restraint, people only see the other side of it. They're not seeing the inner world where you might be or whatever with some of this stuff. And you present yourself in this way, and that's what they're picking up on. That's how you show up in relationships, even if you do have worries and concerns. Feels like this is something that you'll share with people, your worries, your concerns. But at the end of the day, they see what ultimately eventuates, which is you show up, you do the thing, you wait it out. You're willing to do what must be done, hear what must be heard. You know, you're not going to back down. You're going to stand strong, and you're willing to wait it all out, you know, whatever that is. Let's see what else is here. You're willing to do the work of healing. Let's see what else is here. How you show up in relationships. Okay, so I wanted to sit there for a moment with your card. And so it's interesting because it was sort of segueing from the other card. And that's the thread that I was trying to capture. And it was like, okay, so oftentimes like you have your inner world and you might have your worries and your concerns and your inner challenges and battles, but I don't know if you're one to share those or share those often. You will, and you're available to it. But I feel like a lot of the battling that you do with yourself happens behind closed doors or happens more silently and to and with yourself, where you're navigating that terrain on your own. You're sort of like a lone ranger in that way, where it's like you're readily and available. You're ready and available to be able to share and share openly. But usually if not prompted, it's not something that you'll do until you must, until you're going to burst. But for the most part, you fight your own battles and you don't invite very many people to the forefront. And there's actually some emotion that comes up, but just a little bit where, you know, a lot of compassion that I have for you, for those who walk a lot of those battles alone and sort of trudge, is that the word trudge or trudge? Through the muck, sort of on your own, solo, lone ranger. But I feel like you do sometimes find yourself in a tizzy or you can get yourself worked up in your mind. You might not always portray that, convey that in relationships, but I think the person knows that. And if anything, they would want you to, you know, support yourself by getting out of your own head, by not overcomplicating it, not getting overanalyzing it, not overthinking it, not losing yourself to it, recognizing that you have all these other traits and qualities that you can sort of tap into, like that patience and that trust. And like, those are the truth of you. And it's okay, because this is the only thing that's come up in your reading. And even if it was all of this stuff, like, this is you, this is how you show up in relationships. I feel like you hide a lot of that stuff though. But they know it. They know that you fight a lot of your battles alone. That even if you are feeling exhausted or fatigued or stressed or overwhelmed, you might not share that. It might not get as much sort of space or get the floor as often as maybe even your partner's troubles or what they had to say or what they have to share. But it's almost like you prefer it that way. You want it that way. You like it that way. They're happy with the balance, so it works. The people that you're with, that balance works. And yet, you know, it's trusted that you will come forward and say and share what you must, when the time is right, when you know you need to. There is an energy of that. I feel like you're also willing to do the healing work and to do, again, we keep saying this, but do what's required, take the necessary steps. Like, I feel like you're willing to face the music and take responsibility and look within and make whatever changes and hear someone out and hear their feedback. It doesn't mean that it might not hurt you or get you into analysis paralysis or overthinking or something like that. But again, that would be something that you address on your own, sort of behind closed doors, and you navigate on your own and maybe work with guides or therapists or mentors or healers or something like that, where you, if there's still residual effects from a disagreement or an argument or a fallout of some kind or whatever, you're less likely to bring it into your relationship. You know, it's like you bring up this great front, and it's not a front like a mask, but you prefer to fight your battles alone, and you'd rather simply laying it all on your partner. You'd rather get someone you trust or you pay for or whatever that you know is neutral. You trust them for their wisdom, and you go to them for that support, to find the truth, to find your center, to be able to carry on, to move forward, heal, progress, advance, whatever is required of the situation. But all in all, it feels like while you might have some inner battles at times or there's like an inner turmoil at times, mental and emotional, I feel like it's not often, it's relatively infrequent, because you are relatively balanced and grounded and you have the necessary tools to support yourself. But when you get there, you do tend to fight the battles on your own. At the very least, just need space to be able to navigate on your own. And so your partner, maybe you don't know this about yourself, or they do know it about you. So it depends on your circumstance, but the energy here, it might even be a message for you, is recognizing you actually do very well when you have the space to navigate something on your own before you are expected to like present something or share something or resolve something. There might be the codependent part of you. This is going to be for everybody, but for those people who do recognize that in themselves, like we talked about earlier, that wants to like hurry up and resolve something to preserve the connection and guarantee stability because of that fear there, that fear of loss, abandonment, rejection. But you actually do really well when you have the space to navigate something on your own and work through it, and then come to like an integrated, balanced, cohesive space within yourself before you interact or communicate or work through something with someone else. And so it's almost like knowing that about yourself is really helpful, because you just know now that, okay, if something is up with me, I just need space. And if I just know to ask my crush, person of interest, party, whoever I'm with in a relationship, I know that I just need some space. I will work it out within myself, and I will be back, and I will be ready, and I will have what I need. Because you might have a tendency to get overwhelmed, to get in your head and maybe not be able to think or see clearly or whatever. It's like you just need your space first. And if you have that, you'll navigate it successfully, and then you can come back. And if your partner knows that's what you need, and now you know what you need if you didn't know before, that's something that's really important for you, but also a way that you either already show up in a relationship and or something you don't know and are now knowing about yourself. So this is how you'll know that this is how best to navigate those kinds of situations moving forward. Let me see if there's anything else, but you'll do that work, right? You'll do the healing work. Some people just disappear and avoid it. That's not what it is. You just need the space to navigate it, and then you're able to come back from a clear place and move forward with greater maturity or in a way that is true to your values. So card pile 1, that is how you show up in relationships. If you like this reading, I'd love to hear your comments. Do like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new reading pops up. If you want to get to know more about me or get a personal reading, visit erritygreen.com/shop. You have my newsletter to sign up for below. That way you receive my love letters in between readings. And do check out my other YouTube channels, Psychic True Crime, Wise Women Talk, both of which are also linked below. Thank you, card pile 1. All right, card pile 2. How do you show up in relationships, or who are you? What kind of person are you in relationships? You might find that as I share, I'm saying they think of you or they see you this way, because that's how it is, right? When we're in a relationship or in a dynamic, most of how we can see ourselves is going to be from the eyes of another. But I will more or less interchange or exchange. It's interchangeable, rather, what I say when I say this is how you show up in relationships and this is how they see you. Even if there is no they right now, it's when you are with someone, even if it's your crush, how they see you. So that's how I'll be speaking to this. So number 1, right off the bat, I'm seeing that you're willing to make the move, to do the thing, to say the thing. You might be someone who's very passionate, easily excitable, eager. You have a lot of like sort of anticipation energy. You might get excited very easily, feel a lot of desire and passion, but also let that childlike energy of fun and play and having a crush. Now, I don't think this is your whole side, right? Because some of you could be like, well, that's not me. Stick around, because there's plenty more to go, because I feel like you kind of have two sides here, at least many that are coming up here, because I do feel like you're devoted. You are devoted to relationships, to love. When you are in, you are all in. You might not be easy to let go. I'm not getting the energy that like you wear your heart on your sleeve. I do get the energy that you will make the move, you will say the thing, you will follow through on desire. You are very primally and passionate, primal and passionate, or primally passionate, if that would be such a thing. And yet I feel some reservation. I do feel like you don't just give it away to anyone who shows up. Some of y'all might, because as soon as I said that, it's like, oh, well, there are some over here. So but I feel like you show up as a devoted lover, whatever that means to you, as someone who surrenders it all, is willing to sort of like worship the ground they walk on. They might not know that or see that always, but once they get in, again, once you're all in, you are a very devoted lover, and you will make a necessary move. Like you'll be the one to say something, to show up, to like approach somebody, to say, hey, I like you. Like you don't have a problem with making the first move and being like, and taking initiative and be like, hey, I like you, or hey, can we have a conversation about this? It's really important. Or hey, I heard you say that and I really want to find some clarity with it so we can understand each other. Like you just seem like the person, like you're going to be the one to take initiative, to do what must be done. But there was a lot of that in card pile 1. This is a different flavor. You're just willing to like move the relationship forward or have a conversation or move the needle. Like you're willing to create space for progression, for advancement. So you'd be the one to approach someone. You know, you would be the one to say, hey, so you want to ask me on a date? You know, if it's like that way, or you might be the one to say, hey, can I get your number? Right? But you're willing to make that move, and not just at the front end, we're saying all the way through again. So like, hey, we have a conversation about this. I just don't think it went well, and we're not really understanding each other. Like, and I really want to try to understand you, and I'd love for you to be able to understand me. You know, what can we do? So I do feel like you're always going to do what's required in order to preserve and support the connection and relationship. Do you feel a lot of desire? Someone who is available to change and transformation. You might be someone who really appreciates personal growth, or even professional growth, or professional development. Some of you might very well be channeling some of this raw, primal passion and desire into your profession, into your work and career. So some of you might be relatively driven, determined, a go-getter. Some of you might have found success in a career or livelihood, and you're feeling pretty established. That's not going to be the case for all of you, right? So apply the energy here, because I have the majority energy, then I have the little exceptions, and even all of that energy is going to be different based on your circumstances and your conditions. With that said, many of you have an established career because you've used this kind of solar plexus sacral energy to drive and carry you forward, and to, build some rock solid structures in your life. So many of you are going to be someone, it's almost like I got that in the energy at the very beginning where it was like, yes, I get you as someone who is a devoted lover and all in when you're all in and primal and passionate. And I don't get the energy of like, you're just kind of like, what's the energy? It's not like a puddle, right? Like it's, because we tend to associate someone who's like all in and surrender and total devotee as someone who likely hasn't like established as much in their career, and they're not as very driven or go-getter like, and that's because it's like that feminine masculine energy thing. And not that those are actually true and exist in nature, but it's a helpful way to understand ourselves and each other, where it's like it feels like very feminine in terms of the devotion, but you do have a lot of masculine energy too. So you might be someone who's well balanced or well grounded in that way. This isn't like a huge energy here. It's me trying to make sense of the qualities and traits that are coming up and convey it to you. But I feel like, again, many of you probably have this primal passion, desire, and you've been able to be successful or create some kind of success in your life or an established career. And professional growth is important to you. Career growth is important to you. You are someone who likes momentum and productivity and motivation and moving forward. But again, I get that devotion kind of lover. So it feels like it's paradoxical, but it exists in you. If both of this is coming up, both of these, then it must be true, right? I mean, it's from the reading. You'll have to let me know down below because it does seem paradoxical, but I am seeing both of these. I feel like you're going to be the kind of person that will break through any limit. So this is talking a lot about like who you are as a person too, not just in a relationship. Card pile 1 was all about like how they're seen in the relationship, but I'm also seeing a lot of for independence here, but we do have the devoted lover aspect and the willingness to do what must be done to preserve the connection, ensure the connection. But I feel like you're the type of person who will break through any limit. You're always willing to grow. You're always willing to do what's required of you. It's like you're going to persevere and push through any of your limits. You have a lot of endurance. Let's see what else is here. So I'd like to connect too with how this connects in your relationship as well. I feel like you have a lot of energy and you carry a lot of energy to this relationship, which I think is also connected to that primal passion, desire that we were talking about earlier, that devotion energy, where you can bring a lot of energy to the relationship and to the connection. I also want to pull a clarifier card for one of my cards over here. Let's see. You can sit with me here for a minute while I do this. I just want a clarifier card for card pile 2. I keep getting this sort of paradoxical energy, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do with it. It doesn't mean it can't be true. Like, I have a lot of paradoxical qualities. I feel like I'm very balanced in both of those ways, but I don't know. I was curious about it. So I feel like there's this energy of, and it feels like I said back and forth. Give me a moment. Okay, got it. It just took me a little while. So I feel like they think of you as like a gift. Like maybe you somehow, some way were able to break a pattern in their previous relationships. So again, when I say they, we don't have to be speaking to one person if you're not with someone, but this could be someone generally. How does the other person feel when you're in a relationship with them? Or it could be someone right now, a crush or someone that you're with, but that you somehow broke a pattern in their life and then came in sort of like, came in like a wrecking ball. I never hit so hard in love. And that's really terrible singing, but I do what I can. And I love you guys for accepting me as I am. But I feel like you are like that. It does have the energy, by the way, a little bit of the Miley Cyrus song. And I'm so glad it's coming up now because I was really trying to find a thread and a way to marry those two energies of like total devotee, but also someone who has a lot of passion and will go for it and the go-getter. And that kind of energy is in that song, Wrecking Ball, where it's like someone who's totally devoted, but someone who's also like primal and passionate and will do the dang thing and will do what they must and wants to make this relationship work, will break through whatever walls and will have whatever conversations. Like you will throw it down. You will fight for it, baby. It's like that kind of energy. And so I feel like you're someone who can break through this person's walls. So they probably see you like that. And that could make them scared. I will say that. You might intimidate some people, not all of them, maybe the ones that aren't right for you, or the ones where ultimately they are right for you because they're not willing to sort of wear their heart on the sleeve or show up in the way that you might require for a relationship. But you are sort of heaven sent or an angel in disguise for them, because in one way or another, you break a pattern in themselves or between them, the people who are in a relationship with you, and their previous partners. I feel like in some way you aren't, like, you don't allow like just the superficiality. You don't allow them to kind of skate at the top and not go deeper. You don't allow a real, true, deep emotional connection. Like, again, you help break through their walls. You expect and ask for and require vulnerability, something real, something true, something genuine. But I feel like that's also what you bring to the table, again, with your devoted lover kind of energy and your passion and your desire. It's like you have all of this love to give, and you're going to expect or want the same from your person. And it doesn't mean we're always going to be on the same exact page with another partner. In a lot of ways, we'll be complements of each other, and that's why we come together to support each other to actualize into our greater wholeness. And yet, you are showing up as that person who might very well be breaking through their walls and or helping them break through their walls or let their walls go, so you guys can make that deeper, truer connection. Okay, let's see what else is here. Oh no, I lost a card in all of this. What a bummer. I don't know where it went. I wonder if I have to pull another one. That's unusual. Okay, so let's see what else. How do you show up in relationships? I feel like this can show up in one of two ways, but I'm going to speak to the first one first. And that is, I feel like you tend to be hopeful and positive and see the silver lining. You're someone who's not going to be too far gone for too long. Like, you're not going to spiral for too long, go down too many rabbit holes for too long. You're not going to let something take your attention that isn't like productive or supportive or encouraging or positive in some way. You're going to be someone who really wants to see the positive and wants to help people stay there. And I feel like you might, one of two things, you might teeter between the two opposites of being someone who sees the silver lining, has hope, has optimism, but can easily sort of derail or default into confusion and upset and disappointment and kind of like that existential apathy. It's like you might be that person who can teeter between, but you might also be the person in a relationship that helps other people come out of that funk, especially because we have heaven sent, especially because you support transformation. You might very well be someone who can help others in a relationship when they're in a funk, when they're stressed out, when they're overwhelmed. You're helping to sort of lull them out of that, or lure them out of that, or support them out of that, so that they can find that silver lining, so they can find the hope, the optimism, the freedom again. You might just naturally bring that in your energy, but it could also be something that you do directly or explicitly or specifically. But I do feel like you show up as that person in a relationship who's focused on the good, who's focused on the positive, who wants to bring everything to a positive place, and either teeter between the two opposites of, going into that mental apathy and or confusion and all that stuff and the optimism, or you help your partner come out of that. They can rely on you, or you can be relied upon for a more positive perspective, a wider perspective, clarity, that kind of thing. Okay, let's see what else is here. Oh, okay, so I'm remembering the other card now. Okay, so someone, I feel like too, again, this could be paradoxical, or it could be a way that you're showing up in the relationship. I feel like you're a free spirit. I feel like you can't be held down. You can't be controlled. I feel like, again, that energy that kind of needs to burst, that raw passion, desire. It's like you might yearn for freedom or need to feel free or have freedom in the relationship. Let me see what else wants to come up here. Like, you just can't be held down. You can't feel bound. And I feel like that the other person very much appreciates this in you. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. But I am curious about another a message that wanted to come through. Yes, so the other one, because it all comes through at the same time. And so if I forget it and I speak to one part of it, it doesn't always come back. And so I have to sit there and meditate for a second so the message can come back. And that's just how it is. Now, the flip side of this, and that's why I said there's a paradox here, is because either you can flip again between these spectrums, or this is how you show up And then they're trying to help you free yourself from your own box. So it's either you cannot be held down or bound or in a box or constrained or restrained for too long with all this energy. And or you can be someone who's controlling and feel like you need to know something to feel better. It needs to be this way, or it has to be like narrow or rigid. Like you might be someone who feels safe the more that you know, right? You feel safe the more details you have. You feel safe when you have advance notice. You feel safe when you have some semblance of control. And they might support you to free yourself from that box, right? And so a lot of these things I've been sharing here that are paradoxical, as you've noticed, can either be one side of the coin or both. And so I'm sharing it because it's not clear to me. Sometimes it is, and it's very obvious where it's like, this is like in card pile 1, it was very obvious who the viewer is, what their energy is, and what the partner is. But for this, I feel like it was showing a split version of you, i.e. like two sides of the same coin, and you can be kind of very paradoxical in your presentation, and or how you show up in the relationship, and you can show up one way and you support the other person in the relationship and the other way. If that makes sense. So if you show up as the free bird, you're supporting them out of their box, or you might be someone who tends to be in a box and they support you to come out as a free bird. You see what I'm saying? So I hope it's not confusing. With that said, if this is landing for you and making sense for you, especially because it is a little confusing for me, but it is landing for you, do share it in the comments. Let me know and be like, oh my gosh, yes. No wonder I feel so crazy because I feel like I can do both. Or you might say, yes, that's exactly what I bring to my partner. And so I can see how it's lining up for people. I'd really love to hear your feedback on that. Let's see if there's anything else. Devoted lover, like we talked about, pure primal desire, passion, willing to make the first move, initiative, breaking through walls, helping them break through their walls, them helping you break through your walls. But I think especially you're that wrecking ball, baby. You came in like a wrecking ball. You tend to be positive, upbeat. You have that kind of light energy, that solar plexus energy, personal power energy. We're going to keep things light, upbeat, easygoing. You're not going to take anything too seriously or be held down for too long, so you can support people up and out of their funks if they get there, if they go there. I also feel like you can find yourself in these spaces sometimes. It might need that same energy within yourself or from someone else to sort of lure you out of your own funk. You don't prefer to be there. You don't prefer others to be there. And I feel like this energy, this kind of playful, fun, devotional kind of energy will ensure that you can break through. You're bringing that wrecking ball, baby, and, get rid of that kind of mental chatter or mental turmoil we can all get ourselves into sometimes. Last but not least, in terms of how you show up in a relationship, you're either the free bird who doesn't get held down or for too long and doesn't like to feel restrained or confined or in a box, and you can support people to come out of their shell, or it's the other way around where you can tend to want your little box and your little safe zone and your comfort zone is just easy here because everything is predictable and everything is easy and you know how it's going to go, and they help you. Your relationship, your person helps you come out of that box. So I hope you found some clarity with this reading, especially it being a little bit scattered and having two sides of the same coin. So I hope you found some clarity with it. Either way, do share your comments so I can get that feedback and hear how it is landing for you. Like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new reading pops up. If you want to get to know more about me and my work, personal readings, you can visit erritygreen.com/shop or find the link below. I'd love to see you over my other YouTube channels, Psychic True Crime, Wise Women Talk. Those are linked below as well. I'd love to have you on for my love letters. So that way I can send you a message in between readings and we can stay connected. Thank you, card pile 2. Hello, card pile 3. Today's reading is how you show up in relationships. So how this might present today is we might be talking about how you show up in a relationship, and I might be speaking to you, the viewer, but sometimes you'll hear me say they. And when I'm talking about they, I'm talking about the crush, the person that you're with, and or the people that when they are with you, this is how they see you. Because oftentimes the best perspective that we can get as to who we are in a relationship is from the other person who's with us. So a lot of the stuff that we're pulling from is going to be from that, from the other perspective. So when I say that, I want you to know that's what I'm speaking to when I say they. So right off the bat, I'm getting sort of this like nighttime, nocturnal kind of energy. I'm getting that emotional Scorpio kind of energy. I'm getting that energy of someone who's okay in the depths and the darkness. But it's like full moon darkness. I don't mean just like dark, and it's pitch black, but I mean like full moon darkness. I'm getting even that like dark, deep feminine energy. Doesn't mean that you have to be feminine. Doesn't mean that you have to be a woman. It just means like You are someone who is comfortable with and or appreciates or prefers like the abyss, the unknown, the mystery, the intrigue, emotions, emotional depths, swimming in the deep. You're a deep person, someone who's not going to be okay to just flitter about on the top of the ocean. And, no, you're going to dive deep. You're going to explore. You're going to journey. You're going to venture. You want to, soak everything up from life. You want to experience all that life has to offer you. You want to experience emotional, it's not like emotional fulfillment. It's like all the different emotions you have a craving to experience. I don't see the highs and lows, but sort of like the roller coaster of emotions, whether or not you realize it or not, subconsciously, it's something that you probably do enjoy or like in some way. You didn't know that about yourself. Now you do. But you're someone who kind of swims in the emotions. Like you don't have a problem being there. And, or even if you do have a problem with it, it is something that is a part of you. It's how you're seen in relationships. This is how you show up. Like you navigate in the deep. You like it deep. You like it down there in the abyss. Like it's like, there's plenty of sea life that flits about on the surface of the ocean where the sun penetrates the top. What is it, like at least 6 feet? At least the sun penetrates the ocean. And then at the very deep recesses of the ocean, we find caverns and caves and creatures that we're not even aware of, that we don't even know exist. We've only seen like 6% of them, right? Something like crazy like that. You would be one of those creatures that's in the deep, dark depths. Like that's where you thrive. You thrive in that deep, dark, feminine. And you might be someone who considers yourself a witch or a magician or a mystic, someone who does deep healing work, shadow work. Some people consider themselves a dark worker or whatever. I feel like you're comfortable there. If you aren't already actively in that space, intentionally or consciously, that might be something to look into. Meaning, if you reject that part about yourself and you haven't accepted that part of yourself, you might recognize or have a chance here to face that part of you that, this is who you are and this is what you like. And if this is what you like, give yourself the permission to go there, because then I think that'll actually free you in a lot of ways and free you emotionally. Someone who is comfortable with the subconscious and exploring the unconscious, someone who isn't going to take something at first glance or face value, someone who's always going to read between the lines and go for the depths and the meaning and the wisdom and the undercurrents and the deeper layers, someone who's curious about human nature, someone who's curious about even like deviance or criminality. Doesn't mean that you actually explore those areas directly, but you might be someone who has investigated it, studied it, wanted to know more about it. You might be someone who is different, unique, or willing, open, available in the bedroom, where you want to explore the dark corners of things and might explore sort of the polarity kind of play of like BDSM or things like that. You might be someone, who's willing to explore unexplored areas, the labyrinth of the mind, the deep undercurrents of the psyche, of the subconscious, bringing the subconscious into the conscious. You might be someone, again, who explores like inner child, shadow work, inner work, who really likes to pull all of that up and see what treasures lie underneath. So maybe, in the deep, dark depths of the ocean, all these things are covered with algae and fungus and this and that. But if you actually pulled it up into the light of day, it would be treasures and gems and gemstones and pearls. Like you're someone who finds pearls amongst all of that, right? The diamonds and the rough. So you're someone who thrives there. You might have been, as a younger person, someone who listened to a lot of sort of like that, what do they call it? Like it could be punk music, but it could also be heavy metal. Someone who did their hair in crazy ways or was, super, would wear like dark colored clothes. You don't have to be that. You don't have to be a literal personification of this, but I'm giving you examples so you can kind of find yourself in all the examples that I'm sharing and all the personifications of this. There's the many ways this can show up. There's like the movie Clueless, and then there's the movie, The Four Witches. Now this is again showing my age, but we had the show or the movie Clueless, and then we have the movie with the Four Witches. If you guys know what I'm talking about, please write it down. I feel bad that I can't even give the name and I'm talking about it, but it has Veruza Balk in it. And there was one gal with a dimple. I'm trying to remember their names, but I don't remember the movie. But it's like you would be the witch version of that movie. You would not be Clueless. Okay, so kind of give you a distinction of the kind of person you are. And this is how your partner sees you too. So your partner sees you also as someone who might even sometimes lose yourself, lose control, lose your center in this emotion, or in emotions. And perhaps clearly they like this about you, because they wouldn't be with you. They don't like this about you. But I feel like at a deeper soul level, you're meant to be supporting them. They might know this, but I feel like you're supporting them to touch into those areas of themselves. So they might actually have an inclination to play rescuer or savior with you sometimes. And this stuff is coming up. This did not come up, nothing like this in the first two card piles. So I feel like it has to be relevant for at least one person. Otherwise it wouldn't be here. They might feel that desire. There might be a dynamic here where, you might tend to lose control, lose yourself, lose your center, because you are such a deep person, because you're one to dive to the depths and not stay in the shallows, because you're willing to explore the darker, deeper recesses of the human nature, human mind, whatever. You do that inner work. You are willing to bring it all to the surface, work with it, explore it, navigate it. But I feel like sometimes you can get lost there, stuck there, lose yourself there. So as a result of that, you might attract someone who might be like they want to play the rescuer or savior role, but that's not going to work out very well in terms of a conscious dynamic, an unconscious dynamic. But as a conscious one, as long as you're aware of it, this person, that might be a mirror for them to explore that part of themselves, while they might be a mirror for you to bring more light into your world in terms of maybe you, not that you would play rescuer or savior, but, find your own inner hero, right? Your own inner savior, your own inner superhero who's able to sort of, again, pull yourself out of the depths when necessary so you can surf and ride on the waves, because a balance is helpful, healthy, and necessary in our lives. So I feel like you are someone who, again, can find yourself in those funks at times. I don't know what you would call them or how they present for you, right? How they actually show up in your tangible reality. But I do sense that your partner sees that clearly, that there are some will play that role or have played that role in the past. And so I think many of you will have noticed it, at least in a past relationship, if not now. Let's see what else is here. Yeah, I feel like, again, you can be a fairly studious, somber person, and it doesn't mean that you don't experience joy, because you do, or these lighter phases or energies. But I feel like that scorpionic energy of someone who's more sort of studious of life, an observer of life, and kind of an inner navigator, an inner explorer, someone who's like an introvert as opposed to an extrovert. That's a really great way to say it. Not all of you are going to resonate with that, but just to continue to give you examples. And I feel like, they recognize that's more of your journey. Like, your journey in this life is more of an inner journey than an external journey, right? So you might not have a lot to show for your life experience at this point anyway, in terms of external things, but you have a lot to show for your inner journeying. So you might do a lot more inner journeying than you do outer journeying. And so that's, first of all, something just to how do you show up in relationships? That's what you tend to do. So maybe your partner, when they show up, your current partner, crush, person of interest, and your partners tend to show up as the outer journeyer. They're more interested in, this doesn't have to be the case, but tends to be where we have a complement with the other, not always, but there usually is a common thread or a common core wound that brings us together, but we might express them in different ways. They might be the one who's like focused on career or aspirations or goals and dreams, and you're focused on inner journeying. So that's another thing that could come up. Let's see what else is here. Yeah, again, I'm not feeling like you're someone who's too focused on planning and structure and regimenting something and making something happen. You could be, but it feels like you're more focused on living true to the moment, what's here now. So you might be someone who's been considered, like, maybe you went to festivals and maybe you traveled, I could definitely see you appreciating nature, indulging in and or engaging or participating with plant medicines and getting to know plant medicines and herbal medicines and tinctures and teas. And I feel that energy too, really getting to know the earth, knowing the earth well, connecting with the earth, again, using plant medicines, very much connected to sort of like that earthy sort of artist in a caravan gypsy kind of vibe. I could see that in some way showing up for some of you and some of you. Let's see what else. I feel like you're relatively content with the inner journey as opposed to the outer one. It doesn't mean that some of you are going to be like, girl, like, I am trying to do blankety blank. And it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, and if you've had any challenges or stuckness in terms of manifesting something in your physical world, this is why. It's because you tend to either get so focused on the inner journeying and or get lost in the emotional upheavals and the Scorpio kind of experience, that it can be like destruction and sabotage and things like that, it can prevent these manifestations from coming into full glory, right? So that's as an FYI for some of you who are like, no, like I do, like this might be me, but I do appreciate bring things to fruition, and I want to be able to achieve something, and I want to have something to show for my efforts or my career or my livelihood or whatever. If that is the case, then know that the message that is about for you, that this is the thing that kind of might throw you off, where you get kind of focused on the emotional stuff and the inner journeying and the depths. And you might even kind of get caught there sometimes in a net. And it might cause sometimes conflict in the relationship, at the very least disagreement, but it can also kind of catch and prevent things from moving in terms of your external manifestations. So recognizing that in you too. Yeah, so I think sometimes because of all of your feels and your depths and your inner journeying and your excavating and archaeologing, not a word, but I'm making it up, with everything that you're doing, I feel like sometimes you might lose clarity. And so I feel like your partner might be the person who kind of gives you that center point, acts as like solid ground or solid footing, can help you find clarity or distinguish. Because it's almost like when you live in the dark, and I'm not saying you live in the dark, but metaphorically here, because I'm a very deep person, so I can get some of this. I'm not all the way there, but like this, I don't think this would be my pile. However, I can relate to being deep and the inner journeying and the introvertedness and the labyrinth and the excavation and all that stuff. I totally get. And so when you do a lot of that journeying, sometimes it can be a challenge to find your truth, find the center, because you've done so much journeying that it's like, okay, well, what's even true anymore? For those who get this, you know what I'm saying. It's just saying you can kind of lose yourself in this feels and this exploration. And sometimes your partner is the one to act as the flashlight. So you could find yourself in like kind of pitch black darkness. Your partner might be the one who brings you the flashlight, right? Now, there could be a codependent version of that where they're always, again, trying to come save you and rescue you. I think some of you might be expecting that or wanting that from your partner. They're not going to come and rescue you. And or if they are, here's your great opportunity to become aware of that. The great thing that they could do is hand you the flashlight as opposed to becoming your flashlight, and always sort of guiding and picking you up and be like, okay, let's get out of this deep, dark cavern you brought yourself to. Let's kind of go up back to shore again and find our way out, get you some food and some drink and kind of carry on. If they're doing that, that might be more of the codependent dynamic we were talking about earlier. So just a matter of becoming aware of it. But the other option is that they're the type that knows, okay, that's how they are. I just need to bring them a flashlight. They're going to be all set. Maybe say a thing, do a thing, and they're going to be all right. So let's see what else. How else do you show up in relationships? I feel like you are someone who wants a deep, healthy, conscious, loving, fulfilling, satisfying relationship. I feel like you do deeply want this for yourself. I don't know if you feel like you have found it yet, but I feel like it has to do with you finding this inner aspect of you that is your own savior, your own rescuer, your own flashlight. It's like just finding more balance for yourself, like becoming the full moon on a dark night, or having that too, there is something here about finding balance and finding your footing. I feel like you when your partners are with you, they find themselves a perfect complement. They really appreciate that. They find that you are a kind of partner for them. It's like this unique kind of perfect fit, lock and key kind of thing. So that's great to hear and great to know that when they are with you, they find it, whoever it is, right? All the people you've been with and or the person you're with now or the crush party of interest. There is a message here that, there is this kind of draw or attraction clearly that connects you if you are with someone, or even if you've been with someone in the past. But I feel like there is a message here, even from the very beginning, a message of bringing yourself a little bit out of the depths and the darkness all the time. Not that you're there all the time, but you know what I mean. There's just a message. I'm just trying to find the words to convey it to you. Where it's like, let me show you, actually. See how there's like this depth here and introversion and Scorpio kind of energy and kind of perhaps at times getting lost in the excavation of it all. And it kind of has this flower blooming out of that. And it's like in all of this, that's your fertile soil, but there is opportunity to bloom from that and to bring something forward, whether that be the manifestations we were talking about or more potential in your relationship or your connection. I feel like there is a wanting here for something more or something external, and not just like the emotional feels and the Scorpio energy or whatever. But of course, you came to find out, well, who am I in relationships? Well, you found out, but you're also getting this message of, if you're finding you're not, and this is for those that this matters to, if you're finding you're not able to fully bring to fruition what it is that you want or seek in your life, whether it be in the relationships and the partnerships or career and livelihood or whatever, it's probably because this aspect of you is out of balance. If that's the case for you, if it's not, then you're here just to get the messages about who you are in relationships. But if for some of you, you're finding that it does feel imbalanced, then it probably is. And that would mean you balance it out, meaning more extroversion, less focus on your emotional world, less focus on your inner world, coming out of your shell, leaving the house, doing more things socially, meeting new people, finding new connections, finding things out in the world, being in the sunshine. Again, not going to be the case for everybody, but for those it is, that's going to be your balance. Finding your own flashlight, being your own full moon, bringing your relationship, if you were in one or have been in one that's like this or are in one now, to a healthier level in terms of if there is that codependent dynamic of this is where I am at, I tend to lose my center because I am so deep and I'm in this energy a lot or whatever. You might even be a Scorpio or whatever. And this person tends to come and save you and bring you out of the depths. Well, that's your opportunity to shift that, to change that. Like, it's not a problem. It's just where you are and where you get to go if you want to. So card pile 3, I would really love to hear from you specifically. I want to know more about you and this dynamic and this experience and your relationships in the past. I want to hear if this lands, if this resonates, how it's shown up for you. You're someone, it's like you are someone who sort of hiked the Grand Canyon. You're someone who has traveled every deep, dark cave of the ocean. You've been a deep sea diver, scuba diver, like you've done and explored all this inner terrain, all this inner landscape. You're a true master. Like, you could guide anyone through a dark castle on a deep, dark night, right? You could be the one who, it's like you'd be the one with the candle kind of going up the staircase, guiding the people behind you. And so it's like you traverse so much. And yet, because you spend so much time in the dark, you can also lose yourself there. So there is a lingering energy of, or invitation toward, more balance if you so choose, if you find you want that, and if you find you want that in partnership, connection, or relationship. That is an opportunity for you, but you can simply be a master of your own energy, a master of yourself, a master of the dark. You don't have to do anything or do something or show up in a certain way if you don't want to. If you do, there's that invitation. If not, this is who you are. This is how you show up. You are a guide in that way, a master in that way. You have traversed all of these aspects of you, this great labyrinth guide. You've mastered that. But sometimes when we hang out in the cave too long, we kind of lose focus, wouldn't we? Like Castaway, I'm thinking of Tom Hanks after a while. He has to go find Wilson, all right? So do let me know how this lands for you. Like, subscribe, press the bell icon. Again, we would love to hear your comments. If you want to get to know more about me or personal reading, visit erritygreen.com/shop. You can also join my other YouTube communities and channels. They are linked below: Psychic True Crime, Wise Women Talk. Last but not least, I do have a newsletter now. I would love to stay in touch with you and send you love letters between readings. So do check that out. Sign up so I can share with you. Thank you, Card Pile 3.